what's on your mind. Does that work for everyone? Excellent. Excellent. Good evening. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, there's some seats. There's some seats up here. Look, I'm a lifelong public servant. As was mentioned, I worked in the Clinton administration, White House staff. I worked in the Office of Cabinet Affairs among a few. I ran FEMA for New England, appointed by President Clinton. Worked for Senator Kerry for 4 years. I was his point person for small business and economic development. I'm a third-generation combat vet. I enlisted in the Navy a little bit after 9/11 because America was under attack and because my father was in the Korean War. My grandfather was a World War II Battle of Belgium vet. Did a year-long tour of duty in Iraq, 07 to 08. And when I came home in the fall of 2008, after my deployment in Iraq to raise my family, I made the decision to run for mayor of my hometown, Newton, Massachusetts. At the time, Newton faced a $40 million projected structural deficit, no rainy day fund or reserve, 2 of the worst conditioned school buildings in the state of Massachusetts, 1 AAA bond rating that was in danger of being downgraded. So decided to run. A lot of smart political people told me, don't run, you can't win. I'd never went for political office before. Me and my campaign knocked on 11,000 doors, won the election by 469 votes. And in the 8 years since I've been the mayor of Newton, we've closed the $40 million structural deficit, grew a rainy day fund that didn't exist to $22 million. We're building 5 new schools in the next 6 years, 3 of which are completed. Next is being constructed right now. We're rebuilding our roads, sidewalks, fire stations, closing the achievement gap in Newton Public Schools. We have 2 AAA bond ratings in the city of Newton now, one of the few communities that have done that. We got there for 2 reasons. I would point to this. One, every single one of our budgets that I passed with my city council were based on outcomes for people, and they were transparent. The second, I wasn't afraid to raise revenue at the city level. I asked my residents to raise revenue in the form of an override package in my re-election year. They passed that package, and we were able to dedicate money to schools and teachers and public safety officials, road sidewalks. Same principles must apply in Beacon Hill. Each one of those budgets coming out of Beacon Hill need to be based on outcomes for people, every person in the Commonwealth, and they need to be transparent. And we can't be afraid to raise revenue at the state level to get this done. Yes. A year and a half ago, I decided not to run for mayor for a 3rd term because as I started to move around the Commonwealth, it became very clear to me that people and communities are falling behind. I believe the defining issue of our time is economic inequality. And when I think about this issue of economic inequality, I think about my own family. Neither one of my parents grew up with wealth. Grew up in New York, 2 tough neighborhoods. And my dad used his GI Bill benefits from the Korean War to purchase the home where I grew up with my 2 sisters and where I live today with my wife and 9-year-old and 6-year-old. He used his GI Bill benefits to purchase that house. Think about this. This is a government-sponsored program, an investment for people of modest means so they can make ends meet and ensure that their kids can do better than they did. That is not happening in the Commonwealth today, and it is wrong. And this is why I got to this race. I want to talk about the differences I have with this guy about how we're going to deal with economic inequality in the state. There are 3 specific areas I want to mention to you this evening, one of which is education. We were just talking about it. Right now, we are underfunding public education. We have an outdated Chapter 70 formula, which leaves educators struggling to hold on to resources, districts struggling to hold on to educators, cuts being made every single year because this governor won't invest. I believe that in addition to getting rid of Chapter 70 and redoing it so we have a formula that really reflects the needs of children coming into the classroom, we need to add to public education after-school enrichment, summer enrichment, early childhood, and I believe in lifelong free public college, apprenticeships and internships included, so that people can attain the credential they need to make ends meet in this economy. That's going to take asking people who are doing really well in this economy to contribute more. We got to ask those folks in the greater Boston area who are doing well to invest in public education statewide and be honest about this. This is where me and Charlie Baker disagree. He continues to say no new revenue. It's wrong. Everyone has sat in gridlock traffic, right? Across the state of Massachusetts. We've all been a part of that. I was part of that coming here this evening, sitting on the Mass Turnpike for hours and hours. Charlie Baker is not investing in public education. This is why we have traffic, gridlock everywhere, and in some places there's no transportation. There's no public transportation. You know, I was just talking to my friend Mayor Narkowitz just recently. Pioneer Valley Regional Transit Authority has been cut. It's almost non-existent now. Where are they going to cut it? It's wrong. We need to ask people doing well in this economy to contribute more so that we can invest in public transportation and make sure we can build a system to get people to where they need to go. Lastly, this opioid addiction crisis. You know, I've been a mayor for 8 years. Last 3 or 4 years, I've known people that are in recovery, people that have lost people to opioid addiction. Then I start to move around the state of Massachusetts. I've been to over 150, 160 cities and towns. There's not one setting where someone comes up to me publicly or privately and says, "What are you going to do? My son, my friend is struggling or have passed away." So then I start to look at the numbers. Since 2014, 6,000 people have died of opioid addiction in the state of Massachusetts. That's when Governor Patrick declared a state of emergency. Over 5 people a day are dying of opioid addiction in the state of Massachusetts right now. Over 70 people are becoming addicted to opioids right now in the state. 250,000 people are living with addiction, and that number is growing. Now, I started a series of roundtables and town halls in and around this subject, done 9 in every region of the state. Here's what I'm hearing. Not enough detox beds. If you get into detox, the stay is so short it's not effective, 2 or 3 days. Not enough clinicians, even if you have the beds for detox. When you get out, there's nothing there. There's no community-based services. We need education, we need prevention, but we need treatment, and we need real treatment, and it's going to take resources. A woman stood up, a doctor in the town hall a couple of weeks ago in New Bedford. She said, "We are not treating this epidemic as an epidemic. It's an MD. We need to invest in lifelong community-based treatment, wraparound services with housing included. It's going to take money. We're going to need to expand the amount of money we need to train clinicians for detox and add beds. It's going to take money. It's going to take asking people doing really well in this economy to pay more so we can train our fellow human being." Now, Charlie Baker sits on a panel appointed by Donald Trump to deal with opiates, run by Kellyanne Conway. And this group declared a state of emergency around opioids, but didn't provide the resources to deal with it. Baker's doing the same thing here in Massachusetts, and it is wrong. So look, here's my view. We can no longer accept Charlie Baker's low expectations and status quo when it comes to educating our children. We need to ask people to contribute more so we can invest. We can no longer accept Charlie Baker's status quo and low expectations when it comes to transportation in this state. We need to invest and ask people to contribute more. And we can no longer accept Charlie Baker's low expectations and status quo when it comes to treating people with opioid addiction. Our fellow human beings, it is wrong. We've got to ask people in the greater Boston area in particular, who are making $1 million a year or more to start with, fair share tax amendment needs to be passed, to contribute more so that we can invest in ourselves, in our Commonwealth. So look, this is going to be a tough campaign. I know that. It's only going to be won through grassroots politics, not being afraid to tell the truth about some of these really complex issues, like raising revenue, raising taxes so we can invest. If we tell the truth, if we organize, if we not just say what we're against, what we are for, we will win. I want to earn your support. Thank you very much for having me. We're going to win this fall. Thank you.